All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the test 2 review then. So test 2 has 25 questions, I'm pretty sure. Let's make sure that's the case. Yes, test 2 has 25 questions. You'll have 2 hours to complete it. And what we're going to cover today is just the review. So all of the questions should be the exact same order as the questions that we're doing today. They should be the exact same types of questions on the test. All right. So number 1, it says evaluate using order of operations. So we have 12 times -1, absolute value, minus absolute value of 1 minus 9, all over the absolute value of 3 times 9. So what I like to do at this step is I like to separate it into the numerator and denominator, and then work with it from there. So we know that each of these absolute value symbols need to be solved. Let's go ahead and put down our other one. So we're going to work in here and also in here, and then we'll bring those together. So 12 times -1 is -12. The absolute value of -12 is just 12. And then we work on our 1 minus 9. 1 minus 9 is -8. Then we take the absolute value of that, which gives us +8. So we have 12 minus 8, which is really 4. And that's what's going to go on the numerator. On the bottom, we're going to have 3 times 9, which is 27. And then the absolute value of 27 is 27. In looking at this fraction, there's nothing we can do to simplify this. Nothing, no number goes into both 4 and 27. So at this point, this would be our answer. And this is a multiple choice question. Number 2 says 5 times the sum of some number and 8. And the question asks us to translate into an algebraic expression. So when it says 5 times the sum, we know that we're going to have 5 times the sum of 2 numbers. Because remember, sum means add, and times is multiply. Now, after sum, it says some number and 8. In place of the sum number, anytime they say a number, some number, that number, they're always talking about the variable x. And when they say and just refers back to the word sum. So inside here we have x plus 8. And you could either leave it like this is a multiple choice question. So if it shows it to you like this is fine. Or you would simplify it, which if we were to simplify it, we would distribute the 5 to get 5x plus 40. So either of these would work. All right, number 3. Number 3 says evaluate for the given values. So we have 15x minus 2y over x plus 6. And that tells us that x is 3 and y is 7. So what we're going to do here is we're going to plug both values in to the expression. So we end up with 15 times 3 minus 2 times 7 all over 3 plus 6. And I would just simply do this using order of operations on the top and bottom. So on top, we've got 15 times 3 minus 2 times 7. So we will have 15 times 3 and negative 2 times 7. So that gives us 45 minus 14. 45 minus 14 is 31. Over 3 plus 6 is 9. And that would be your answer. And that is also a multiple choice question. All right, moving on to number 4. This one just says to simplify. And it says 9 parentheses 6x minus 8y minus 10x minus 7y. So our goal here is to make sure that we combine our like terms after we distribute. So we're going to distribute the 9. We're going to distribute the negative. So 9 times 6 gives us 54x. 9 times negative 8 is negative 72y. And now we distribute our negative. That's really like having negative 1. So negative 1 times 10 gives us negative 10x. And negative 1 times negative 7 is plus 7y. And at this point, we can combine our like terms. So we've got a 54x and a negative 10x. Those have the same variable. We also have negative 72y and positive 77y. So let's go ahead and combine those. 54 minus 10 gives us 44x. The x stays the same. Negative 72 plus 7 is negative 65y. And that would be our final answer. This question was also multiple choice. All right, number 5. Number 5 just says solve. So it's going to be an equation. And here's the equation that they give us. 3 times x minus 1 minus 23 equals 7x minus 4 times x plus 3. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to simplify on both sides. Because if we don't simplify, we can't actually get to solving. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to distribute this 3. That gives us 3x minus 3 minus 23. On the right-hand side, we're going to distribute the negative 4. We get 7x minus 4x minus 12. On the left here, we get 3x minus 26 equals 7x. Oops, that should be 3x. Minus 12. So now get our x's on the same side. We subtract 3x here, subtract 3x here. Look what happens. Those cancel. We end up with negative 26 equals negative 12. Now, of course, we know those are not the same thing. So our answer would be no solution. Okay, number 6. This one also says solve. So here we have our fraction equation. 1 over 4 x minus 3 over 8 x equals 5. And the method we're going to use here is our LCD method, which is where we find the LCD, and then we multiply every term by that LCD. So in this case, we have a 4 and we have an 8. So the LCD is 8. So we multiply this term by 8, this term by 8, and this term by 8. On the first fraction, the 4 and the 8 cancel to leave you with 2. Here, the 8 and the 8 over here cancel. And then with the 5, there's nothing for the 8 to cancel with. So we end up with 2x minus x equals 40. Two x minus x is just x, so x equals 40 is the answer. Number 7. It says, use a proportion to solve. It says, Dr. Smith can see 12 patients in 3 hours. So 12 patients in 3 hours. How long would it take to see 36 patients? So what we're comparing here is patients to hours. So we've got 12 over 3 is going to be the same thing as 36 over, we don't know how long, right? So we put x there. So now in order to solve this, we're going to do what's called cross multiply. So we multiply the diagonals. So we multiply the 12 and the x, and we multiply the 3 and the 36, and then that allows us to solve. So 12 times x is 12x. 36 times 3, we do that on the side. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. 108. And now, just as if we were solving an equation, we divide both sides by 12 to get x alone. So x equals 9. 108 divided by 12 is 9. And in this case, that would be 9 hours, since the unit of measure was hours. That is not a multiple choice. That was a fill-in answer. So they gave you a box. You need to actually put the number in. All right, number 8 is also a proportion. But they don't say that. They just say solve. And this is the picture that they give us. They give us a little triangle with a tree. Pretend that's a tree. And they give us a bigger triangle with a building. They say the little triangle is 13 feet by 5 feet. The big triangle is 156 feet by we don't know how many feet. So what we're comparing here, they say that this line here, for both of these triangles, that's the shadow. So we're comparing the shadow with the height. So our first triangle, the shadow is 13 and the height is 5. So we're going to say that our next fraction is 156 over h, because we don't know what it is. So again, to solve this, we cross multiply. Multiply the 13 and the h, the 5 and the 156. You end up with 13h equals 156 times 5. So we'll go ahead and do that on the side. 156, 5. 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 3 is 28. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. So we end up with 780 equals 13h. And now to solve, we can divide both sides by 13. So h equals, that would be 780 divided by 13. 13 goes into 78 6 times. And goes into 0 0 times. So h is 60. Number 9 says, make an approximation of the conversion. So it says, convert 5 kilometers to blank miles, and it tells us that 1 km equals 0.621 miles. So we compare kilometers to miles. So we've got kilometers over miles. So if we have 5 kilometers, don't know how many miles that is, but then we have 1 kilometer to 0.621 miles. So again, just cross multiply. So we have these two multiplied together and these two. So x equals, we're going to do 0.621 times 5. That's 5, 10, 31. And then we move it over 3 places. So you get 3.105 miles. Number 10. It says solve for A. So we have V equals 1/3 A H. The first thing I would do is get rid of this fraction. And the way that you get rid of the 1/3 is by multiplying by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 1/3 is just going to be 3. So on the right side, they cancel. On the left, you have 3v equals AH. And then to get A alone, we divide by H. So the H's cancel. A equals 3v over H. Remember, if it says solve for A, your goal is to get A alone. None of the other variables matter. You just want to get those on the other side of the equation. All right, so number 11. It says solve and then graph. And this one is an inequality problem. So we have 9x plus 12 greater than 8x plus 6. We always, when we're doing inequalities, want to move the variables to the left. we're going to subtract 8x from both sides. That cancels. We get x plus 12 is greater than 6. Now we subtract 12 from both sides. X is greater than negative 6. So on a number line, you've got your 0, you've got your 6. It wants us to be greater, so greater would be after the 6. So everything shaded after the 6. But at 6, there must be an open circle. Now let's actually write the interval as well, because that's the graph part. But we also need to write the interval. So the interval, we start at 6. 6 gets a parenthesis because it has an open circle. And then we would go all the way to the right, which is infinity. Oh, excuse me, it should be negative 6. I made a mistake there. And then 0 would actually be after it. Everything's the same, it should just be negative instead. So we would have negative 6 to infinity. There we go, much better. Now number 12. This one is a compound inequality. Oh, 31, not 3i. So we're going to, whatever we do to the middle, you must do it to every side. So I'm going to first of all start by subtracting 3 from all 3 sides. You want to keep your x here. So keep your x in the middle. So we've got 16 less than or equal to 4x less than or equal to 28. Now to get x alone, we divide by 4, all 3 sides. So 4 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 7. So when we graph that on a number line, we've got our 4, we've got our 7. X is between these two. And because we have less than or equal to and greater than or equal to symbols, those both get a solid point. And then our interval notation gets brackets. So we have bracket 4, comma 7, close brackets. Now real quick, just as a reminder, keep in mind that you have your inequality symbol, your circle type, and then your interval. So the inequality for less than and greater than, you get an open circle and you get parentheses. For less than or equal to and greater than or equal to, you get a closed circle and then you get brackets. And then of course we have our negative infinity and positive infinity. Those don't get a circle, but they do get parentheses in the interval. Number 13. It says the sum of 4 times a number and 3 is the same as the difference of twice the number and 11. And it wants us to actually solve. So first we need to write the equation, and then we're going to solve it. So first it says sum of 4 times a number. So that's going to be 4x. 4 times a number gives us 4x. And then it says we have the sum and 3. So it's going to be plus 3. When it says this is the same as part, that just means equals. So 4x plus 3 equals, now it says the difference of twice the number, which is 2x, and, so that's where our difference goes, minus 11. And now we can go ahead and solve. So we're going to subtract 2x from both sides. 4x minus 2x is 2x. Bring down your 3. Bring down your negative 11. Minus 3 from both sides. You get 2x equals negative 14. I'm going to write that up here. And now we divide by 2. So x equals negative 7. And this one was also a fill in the blank. The inequalities were multiple choice. All right, number 14. This one says, because of budget cutbacks, Mary Ann was required to take an 8% pay cut. If she earned $40,000 before the pay cut, what is her salary now? So we need to find what 8% of this is and then subtract it from the original. So we're going to do 40,000 times 0.08. Remember, 8% is the same as moving the decimals 2 places to the left. 0.08. 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 0, that's 0. 0, 0. 8 times 4 gives us 32. Now we're going to move the decimal point over 1, 2 places, and that gives us $3,200. So to find the new salary, we have 40,000 minus 3,200. So we're going to have to do some borrowing here. That's going to become 3. That'll become 10, 9, and we could just leave that actually as 10 because the rest of them are just zeros. 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. 10 minus 2 is 8. 9 minus 3 gives us 6, and then we bring down our 3. So the new salary is $36,800, and this one was also a fill-in-the-blank question. Number 15. This one says 432 interest is paid when 4,800 is borrowed at 3% interest. Find the time. So remember, the formula is I equals P RT. So let's go ahead and label each of our variables. It says we do I, P, R, T. I is going to be our interest, so that's 432. P is our principal. That's what we either put into the account or borrowed, which is 4,800. The rate is 3%. So let's change that to a decimal of 0.03. And then the t, which is time, we don't know. So we're going to just leave it as t. So we plug that all into our formula. We've got 432 equals 4,800 times 0.03 t. So 4,800 times 0.03 we get 0, 0. That would be 24. That would be 14. And then we move it over 2 places. So we get 144 t. To solve for t, we divide by 144. And then when you divide that, you end up with t equals 3. So the time it takes to get to that point is 3 years. All right, number 16. It says plot the point. So the point is -5, -4. We have our x and our y axis. If we're going -5, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the left. And then if we're going down 4, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And our point would be right there. And this one is a multiple choice. There's going to be a couple of graphs. You need to make sure that you're very careful about the one you choose. Number 17. It says determine if the ordered pair is a solution. So we have 4x plus 3y equals 21. The point they give us is 6, -1. So our goal here is to make sure that we know 6 is our x, -1 is our y, and we're going to plug those in and we're going to see, do the two sides equal each other? So we've got 4 times 6 plus 3 times -1. 4 times 6 is 24. Positive 3 times -1 is -3. 24 minus 3 is 21. So is this a solution? You would say yes, because the two sides are equal. All right, number 18. It gives us this equation, and it says complete the table. So this is the table they give us. Okay. So we're going to basically plug each of these x's into our x right here. So we would get, for 0, we get y equals -4 times 0 plus 5. -4 times 0 cancels. We get y equals 5. So that goes right here. Now for x equals 1, we have y equals -4 times 1 plus 5. That's -4 plus 5, which is 1. So our y value is 1. And then we try our last one, and that gives us y equals -4 times -1 plus 5. That's 4 plus 5, which is 9. So our last one would be 9. And this one is also a multiple choice question. It also asks us to see which graph matches, but if you find the table, that's sufficient because all the tables are different answers. Okay. Number 19, it says find the intercepts. So we've got -5x minus 25y equals 25. So in order to find the intercepts, we're going to have the x-intercept. We plug 0 into y. For the y-intercept, we plug 0 into x. So let's just do our x-intercept first. We have -5x minus 25 times 0 equals 25. That goes away. We have -5x equals 25. And then we divide by -5. So x equals -5. So your point there, remember a point is in the form of xy. So your point would be -5, 0. Now for the y-intercept, we plug 0 into x. So you've got -5 times 0 minus 25y equals 25. So this will cancel out. We get -25y equals 25, and then we divide by -25. So y equals -1. So your point would be 0, -1. All right, number 20. It says find the slope between 2 points. And it tells us that our points are 3, 8 and 3, 5. Remember, slope of a line, this is a formula you need to have memorized, is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we go ahead and label our points, x1, y1, and x2, y2. And then we just plug them in. We've got 5 minus 8 over 3 minus 3. On top, we get -3 On the bottom, we get 0. The question is that 0 or undefined? The answer is that it's undefined. And the reason why is we can't have 0 on the bottom. If 0 is on top, the answer is 0. So in this case, our answer would be undefined. Okay. Number 21. It says find the slope based on the picture. So we've got our xy plane, and this is the graph they give us. It's a straight horizontal line. So what is the slope of this? The slope of a horizontal line is always 0. If we have a vertical line, the slope would be undefined. So in this case, n equals 0. All right, 22. It says again, find slope. And this time they give us an equation. So we need to know, what is the slope of this equation? Keep in mind, slope-intercept, which is what we've been using in these sections, is y equals mx plus b. M is your slope, b is your y-intercept. So when they ask you to find the slope, as long as it's in this format, your slope is this, 4/3. Okay, 23. It says find both the slope and also the y-intercept. And this time, this is the equation it gives us. 8x plus y equals 11. In order to find these, we need to solve for y. So we're going to subtract 8x from both sides. We get y equals negative 8x plus 11. This is now in slope-intercept form, which means that our slope is negative 8 and our intercept is 11. All right, number 24. It says graph. And the equation they give us is y equals negative 3 over 5x. So what I like to do for these ones is I start by plotting the b value, or the y-intercept. In this case, our y-intercept, there is none, so it would just be a point at the origin. Next, use the slope as rise over run. So in this case, our rise over run is going to be down 3 and then to the right 5. So you go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and then over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's where our second point is. And then we just draw a line connecting those 2 points. And then you choose whichever graph most closely resembles the one that you drew. All right, last question of the bunch. Number 25. It says an investment is worth $39.30 in 1995. By 1999, it has grown to $43.74. What's the rate of change? So rate of change is really just asking us about a slope. So we're going to have to, first of all, start by making these into points. Now, I recommend always putting years first, just because it makes our answers look better. So our first point would be 1995, 39.30. Our second point is 1999, 43.74. And then again, our slope is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we'll label our points, x1, y1, and x2, y2. So plug that in. We've got 43.74 minus 39.30 all over 1999 minus 1995. Calculate that subtraction. That gives us 444 over 1999 minus 1995 is 4. So 444 divided by 4 is 111. And the question asks you, is it increasing or decreasing? Because it's positive, that means it's increasing. So this is a multiple choice question. You need to make sure that you choose the correct word for it, as well as the correct number. That is the last problem on the review for test 2. I hope that it helped out a little bit and that you do very well on your second test of the semester.